Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Hopefully you guys like that little intro thingy. But in this video, I'm going to show you an Ender Dragon farm for Minecraft 1.19 and above. And this farm took a lot of time to make. It's taken like a year. So if you like it, then please subscribe. So close to 10k. So anyways, now I'm going to try to explain how all of this works. But I'm not going to go extremely in depth because it would take way too long. But basically where this farm starts is obviously at the on switch, which is right here in this mess of Enderman proofing. And basically when that happens, we have a bunch of T flip-flops and redstone stuff that start the farm. And the first thing that happens when the farm activates is we get the arrow from this arrow storage right here, which the player just loads their arrows into by sitting in this minecart and looking straight up and shooting arrows like that. And then what that does is it will push the arrow like this, and then it will separate the arrow from this stack of arrows right here. And then it will go down here and be aligned with this arrow liner right here and go straight down into the center of the block. So it's perfectly aligned to launch later. And then what will happen after that is the gas will immediately be allowed to shoot by removing this block from their eyes, so they'll be able to see the player, and then they'll just start shooting immediately and stack a ton of fireballs, which we'll use as fuel to launch our arrow at insanely high speeds, which is actually what we use to kill the dragon. And then while the gas are loading in their fireballs, we just have to get the player to place end crystal so we can actually summon a dragon to kill. And the way we do that is we wait for just the right time, and then we have the player place the crystal right here, and the way we make it extremely reliable is we have the player bind their right click key to any key that's on the keyboard, and that way the player will try to place an end crystal every single game tick. So the second this water gets removed, they'll place the end crystal, and then the water will be pushed back so they can move it down safely without it exploding. And then when the end crystal is placed, it will start the dragon summoning animation because it will tell the game that there are actually 4 end crystals down here already, and it will only update when the player actually places the end crystal down. And then while the ender dragon is spawning, we take the crystals from these first 3 pillars, we move them straight down the center so that we can save resources. And the way that we do that is with this little machine right here, and we just have that duplicated 3 times. And what this does is when the crystal spawns, it'll explode an area around it, which will destroy this block, which will update this, and that will start this machine. And what it does is it basically just takes this cobblestone right here, which we use a cobble generator for, and then we just push it all the way down into the smart piston so we can clear the first 12 blocks, because that's how big the piston push limit is, as quickly as we can to get across this gap where the end crystal explodes everything. And then to get across the rest of the gap, we just have to use a flying machine because we reached the piston push limit already. And then once that happens, we just have this over here, which detects the end crystal and loads it into the ender conveyor and launches it at extremely high speeds all the way over to the center. And then we just do that with the other 2 crystals right here as well. And then now we have all of our crystals, we can just wait for the crystals to explode when the dragon summons, and move our crystal from up here down to the bottom, and then we have all the 4 crystals right here for next time, so that when the player updates it again by placing another crystal, we can summon another dragon, and that's how we supply our crystals for this entire farm. But once we have actually loaded all the gas fireballs into the farm, we can load our second arrow, which actually comes from the skeleton up here, and the reason it isn't from the player is because it doesn't actually hurt the dragon. What it does is it hits the fireballs and explodes them so that we can launch the arrow that we loaded in initially. And then we basically just use this skeleton arrow so that we don't have to take it from our loaded arrows. And then we basically just drop down here and through the arrow liner again. But instead of just instantly putting it through the arrow liner like we do for the player arrow, we actually just wait until the right time to send it down, because that's actually when we're going to be killing the dragon. So we have to time that perfectly so that we get it as soon as the dragon spawns. And that way we'll have the fastest farm we can possibly do with this kind of setup. And then after we kill the dragon, we have to pick up the XP for the player to collect. And what we do to do that is just have this set up here, which just grabs the XP from when the dragon dies, and then brings it all the way down, drops it through this gap right here, and then just sends it all the way down to the player where they're AFK in this minecart. As you can see right here, it just goes straight to the minecart right here with this water stream. So then we just start this farm over again, basically, with having the arrow loaded in and the ghast shooting, and then all of this is going to be happening while the dragon is dying. And then the second the dragon dies, and we're able to place the end crystal again to start the summoning animation, we just remove this water and do the exact same process over again. And then when the player wants to turn off the farm, they can just use the same switch they used to turn it on, and basically just hit that the second they place down their last crystal, and then they can just wait for the farm to shut off completely. And then also, this farm has a few failsafes, which basically just means if you run out of arrows or you run out of crystals, you don't have to worry, because the farm will automatically stop, and then it won't break anything that way. And then one last thing before I explain the rates of this farm, because I know I'm going to get a lot of comments about this, is basically what this command block does and why there's an iron golem right here. And you can probably guess what Dummy here did. He just tanked arrows for me while I was testing it, and I didn't really want to remove him from this world, so I just put him right here on this command block. And the reason this command block is here is because when I remove it, it sounds like this. Yeah, basically this command block just stops them from making that horrendous noise. So now for the rates of this farm. So basically, a dragon takes 604 game ticks to spawn with the crystals in the center, and then it also takes 201 game ticks for the dragon to die, according to some calculations I did a while ago. Hopefully they're correct still. But basically, they should be close enough, and that means that it takes 40.25 seconds to spawn each dragon. And then we use that number to see how fast we farm all of our resources around here. And basically, starting with XP, which drops straight from the dragon up there, we get 500 experience per dragon, and that means that we'll get about 45,000 experience per hour with this farm. But experience is not the only thing we can get from this farm. We can also get the torches at the center right here, and basically that means that we can get 360 torches per hour with this farm. But that would mean that you have to set up something to destroy all these torches at the same time when the dragon spawns. For some reason, when the dragon spawns, it only breaks 2 of these torches, but not all of them, which is very strange. So if you just did no setup, you get 180 torches per hour, but you could double that with just having like a piece of water here or something to break the torches as soon as they spawn in. And then another thing that you could get from this end portal structure respawning is actually the endstone from down here, because there's 16 endstone blocks that generate around this portal block right here every single time that the portal structure regenerates. And what that means is that you can get about 1400 endstone per hour with these 16 endstone blocks. And then you can also get things from the pillars respawning, so you can get about a bajillion obsidian per hour if you just put a bunch of wither cages on these obsidian pillars and ate away all of the pillars every single time they spawned in. But you can also get the iron bars in the pillars, and that would be about 13,000 iron bars per hour if you took all of them. So now I'm going to explain how to build this, but I'm not actually going to do a block of back tutorial because it would take way too long. Instead, I'm just going to explain how to bring all the ghast into the end, because that would be very challenging to do in survival mode. So basically the first thing you have to do is actually collect your ghast to bring into the end. So to do that, you have to go into the nether, and the easiest way to do that is to be in a soul sand valley biome and build a ghast catcher like this. I'll just leave a link to a video in the description where I built one in the video about making a ghast arrow launcher, and then you can just build that exact same ghast catcher for this, which is what I've done right here. And then once you've collected your ghast, you would just bring it into the overworld, and then on the other side we just have this minecart right here inside of the corner of this portal, and then we have it go to our stronghold right here, and then we have this activated rail to push the ghast out of the minecart when you want to put it through the end portal. And then on the end portal side, we have this right here, and what this does is when the ghast spawns in, it'll be right in the center right here. We just have these wall blocks to keep them from actually escaping this chamber right here, and these blocks right here to make the water flow nicely, and then the water will flow them over to here where there'll be a minecart which will push them over here. So now I'm just going to show me actually doing this to get the ghast into the end dimension. So basically you're going to need to have your minecart placed down so that it will pick up the ghast that spawns in here, and then I'm just going to spawn in a ghast, but you would just AFK in survival mode somewhere in the sky, and you'd also probably want a bigger ghast catcher if you wanted to collect a ghast more quickly, because this would take forever with this small of a setup. But basically if I just spawn a ghast, you can see it gets picked up by the minecart, and it will just be flowing back and forth if you leave it right here. But then once you come back down, if you see there's ghast right here, you can just flip this and it will go right on through this nether portal, and then we can just go through the portal after a second. And as you can see, because we have the minecart placed right here in this corner, the ghast instantly went over to our stronghold right here. And then what we can do after that is we can flip this lever, which is just attached to the activated rail underneath the ghast minecart. What that will do is we'll send it instantly into the end. And we can also just take this minecart back if we want to. And then we can go into the end after a little bit as well. And as you can see, the ghast went straight onto this railway right here, which would take you to where you would load the ghast into your farm. And to actually get the gas into your chamber, it's more complicated than you might think, just because when you put the gas in there with a minecart, the minecart counts as an extra entity, and because we have to get the max amount of gas in here as possible without making them die at entity cramming, that would mean that the last gas would just die instantly as soon as we got them in, unless if we actually insert the gas from the bottom like we do here. So that's why I have to make a setup just like this. So basically, what this does is when the gas gets put through your railway right here, it would just go into this lava cauldron, and that would break the minecart, and you could pick that up with a hopper or something if you wanted to. And then the gas would be put out into this soul sand elevator, go up right here, and then they'd be right in the center of the chamber with no way to get out because of the scaffolding, so they can't go downwards. And then we also have them perfectly lined with these heads on the walls, and that means that we can get all 24 gas into our chambers. So now I'm going to actually show myself using it. So obviously, first of all, you have to get your gas over to your farm. So I'm just going to spawn him in just like this. And then you're just going to want to name him so he doesn't despawn. And then you can just come over here and activate your rail just like this. And he'll just go straight into the center of the farm. And if I get his position, he should be exactly in the center. As you can see, he's exactly in the center of the block right there. And then you're going to want to get the rest of your gas in. I'm just going to shove them in until one of them dies. But if I were you, in survival mode, I would basically just count them all until you get to 24, because you don't want to waste that one extra gas at the end, because they are pretty hard to get into the end dimension in the first place. So now one of the gas died, so that means that there's 24 inside of the farm, and that would mean that you can now destroy the rest of this stuff right here and build the rest of the farm around it. So to actually begin building the farm around it, all you would do is just take the water out of here, and then just start destroying everything that you don't need. Except I would recommend keeping the scaffolding right here, because it keeps the gas in there for now. And then once you've removed everything else, you can just go down here and go straight to the center of your gas, which is kind of hard to see. Make sure to try not to suffocate them, because that would be very bad. I think this is the center, so I would just place the end rod in the center right there, and that should be the exact spot that you place the end rod, so that they're in the center. And then after that, you can just remove the scaffolding since you don't need it anymore. And then as you can see, we have our gas chamber just like it would be in the farm. And then if you want to actually add the piston in, all you would have to do is just push the piston down. So you could just do something like this. You just push it down with a lever, and then push it down again, and push it down one more time. You just break that block, break this, and then in the actual farm, you just have the redstone block with the redstone line going across that activates all the pistons. And then as you can see, the piston is inside of here activated, so the gas won't be able to see you from this point on, which is very nice if you're building this in survival. But also while you're building this, because the gas can see you if you don't have this piston here, I would recommend just surrounding this area with blocks. So now that I've shown you how to get the gas in the farm, there's not that much left to say before I end the video. But a few things that I'd like to mention is there's a world download in the description if you'd like to check out this farm in more detail, as well as links to videos that I use designs for to make this farm. Some of them are my own, and some of them are other people's that I use to make this farm, as well as a link to the music that I used in the intro in the beginning. And then one last thing I'd like to mention is that I haven't tested this farm on a seed that has the cage pillars on this side of the end island over here, which might actually ruin the farm completely because it might not have enough time to get the crystals to the center. So if you have a seed where the cage pillars are over here, then I would recommend testing it because I haven't. But with that out of the way, I think that's it for this video. If you liked it, then please leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, then please subscribe. And that's it. Bye-bye.